Welcome to Pest Control Marketing That Actually Works, the podcast for pest control operators who want real growth, not empty promises. I'm Adam Bennett.
And I'm Elisabeth Palante. We're from Cube Creative Design, and for 20 years, we've helped pest control companies stop wasting money and start growing.
Today's episode is all about, should you do door-to-door? Here's the 3 key takeaways.
First, the real math behind door-to-door, what it actually costs per customer acquired. Second, when door-to-door works and when it's a waste of time and money. Third, how to integrate door-to-door with digital marketing for maximum results.
So this is probably the most controversial topic in pest control marketing. Some operators swear by door-to-door. Others say it's a complete waste of time. Chad, you've worked with companies on both sides of this. Let's settle this once and for all.
I'll put it this way. Door-to-door is not dead, but it's not going to be your silver bullet either. So the real question isn't, should you do door-to-door? It's more, does door-to-door make sense for your specific situation and your market?
So it does depend on your market, right? Your capacity, your personnel, your margins, and what else you're doing for marketing.
So let's start with why door-to-door is even still a thing in 2026. Chad, you've talked to a lot of pest control companies. Why do they still knock on doors?
Well, probably 3 big reasons, really. There's control, speed, and the immediate feedback. So with control, you're controlling exactly where your market is. You're targeting those high value neighborhoods, potentially certain demographics. You can get customers fast. If you've got somebody knocking on 100 doors a day, then you can book 5 jobs out of it for tomorrow. And you know immediately what's working because you're having a conversation with them face to face.
100 doors is a lot of doors, though, too, when you consider that. Compare that to digital marketing, where you wait 3 to 6 months to see results. You're competing with everyone online, and you don't get that immediate face-to-face connection.
But there's major downsides too, right?
So obviously it's labor intensive. So you've got to have people out there physically knocking on the doors. It can be very inconsistent. It really depends on the person's skill level and their rapport that they can build with someone. You got scalability issues. You can only knock on so many doors a day, obviously. It's very weather dependent. If it's pouring down the rain, your sales reps do not want to get out there and knock on doors. And in some neighborhoods, you're going to get the unwelcome people.
That's definitely part of the culture now, I'd say. Not as typical to have somebody knocking on your door. So the other big factor is consumer behavior has changed. That in 2010, door was still culturally acceptable in most places. It was more typical. In 2026, it's really hit or miss.
Yeah, absolutely. In some neighborhoods, people appreciate the personal touch, but in others, they see it as intrusive, especially in those higher income areas where people are a little more protective of their time and privacy. They just don't want to see somebody come knocking on their door.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I've seen it firsthand as well. I mean, years ago, you could knock on a door in an upscale neighborhood and you could get probably a decent response. Today, those neighborhoods they're going to call the police on you. I've had friends who have had the police called on them, not pest control industry, but different industry, and had their people call the police on them. So it's definitely interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, but in middle-class suburban neighborhoods, especially with younger families, door-to-door can still create results if you do it right.
And as long as you're not ringing that doorbell during nap time.
Yeah, for real.
So the first decision point, what type of market are you in? Are you in an urban market, suburban, rural? What's the demographic? That determines if door-to-door is even viable for you.
Yes. Realistically, here's your math for 2026. A good door knocker hits maybe 30 to 40 doors an hour if they're lucky. But let's just say they do 35 doors in an hour. They work 6 hours a day, actively knocking. That's 210 doors per day. So you're paying them $18 to $25 an hour, depending on your market. So let's just say 20. So that's $120 in labor.
Mm-hmm. So $120 divided by 210 doors knocked equals about 57 cents per door in labor cost by itself.
Right. Now you've got to add the overhead of your vehicle, your fuel insurance, your door hangers or materials, someone to manage these guys or girls, and then 20 to 30%. You're looking at 70, 75 cents per door in all costs.
So what's the actual conversion rate?
Well, here's where it's going to get really interesting. Your conversion rates are going to vary really wildly based on your market, your service, how skilled your knocker is, and of course your offer.
Can you give us a range?
Yeah, probably on the low end, you're probably like a 2 to 3% conversion. So that's essentially like 1 for every 35 to 50 doors. Your average, if you're lucky, is 5 to 7%, or 1 for every 15 to 20 doors. A good high performer, probably the 10 to 12% range, or in other words, about 1 every 8 to 10 doors.
Okay. So So let's do the math on each one of those scenarios if we can.
Okay, so let's take a low performer and we'll just say they've got a 3% conversion. So you've got 210 doors that they've knocked on. That's going to equal about 6 signups. And your daily labor cost is going to be about 120 divided by your 6 customers. And you're going to be about $20 per customer acquired.
Well, that's actually pretty good compared to digital, where we're often seeing $200 to $400 per customer.
Right. But the problem is those may be one-time treatments or one-time inspections. They may not actually be a yearly annual contract.
That's a good point. So what's the average ticket on a door-to-door sale then?
Um, it really depends. You're probably in that 75 to $150 range for like an initial treatment. Maybe so let's say $100 average just to keep it simple. At $20 acquisition, you're going to probably make $80 in gross profit before your overhead and actual delivery costs.
And if you can even convert them to an ongoing service.
Right. That's where it's going to become more profitable. But if you convert 30% of those customers to annual contracts, let's say a $500 a year average, your lifetime value jumps to around 250 to 300 per door. But at an acquisition cost of 20, that's 12 to 15 times return. So that's really good.
But that requires a good follow-up and retention system, correct?
Exactly. So your door to door gives you the customer, but your marketing and service quality is what's going to keep them there.
Okay, so now let's talk about the average performer, the 5% conversion rate.
Okay. So let's say they've knocked 210 doors. You've got a 5% conversion. That's about a 10 to 11 signups. So 120 divided by the 10, that's about $12 per customer acquired. So obviously that's better economics, but this is why good door operators love this channel.
So, but what if you're below 5%? Like, what if you're hanging out at like 2 to 3%?
Well, then you're probably going to be spending somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 to $40 per customer on a $100 one-time service. So your margins get tight fast, especially after service delivery costs. This is where your door to door really stops making sense.
Okay, that makes sense, Chad. So you've made the case that the math can work, but when should a pest control company actually use door to door?
Okay. So there's probably 5 big reasons or scenarios where it's going to make more sense. You started your pest control business. You've got one truck, I like to refer to it's the chuck in the truck. Maybe it's just you just need customers this month, not 6 months from now. Door to door is going to get you some customers immediately.
Okay, Chad, so you've made the case that this math can work, but when should a pest control company actually use door to door?
Well, there's really 5 major scenarios where it's going to make sense. So the first one is you're new and you need customers like yesterday. So this is where I kind of refer to it as the chuck in the truck. It's the solo operator. They have some free time. They can go out and they knock on doors because you need customers now, not 6 months from now. So,
Right, that makes sense. So digital marketing takes months to build, and door to door gets you cash flow while you're building your digital presence.
Okay, so here's a second scenario. You're established in one city and now you're opening in a new city about 30 miles away.
right. So again, door to door may make sense here. Your target audience is going to be in certain neighborhoods in your new service area. So you need to start building awareness. Just having your logo truck in that neighborhood helps because you're more visible. You can get more initial customers and it's faster than waiting for a local SEO to kick in.
Okay. So scenario 3 would be a seasonal push for specific services. That would include spring termite season, summer mosquito season. These are short windows where you need volume quickly.
Right. So obviously, digital marketing takes time to ramp up. You've got to knock on doors in the neighborhoods where there's high termite activity or maybe mosquito problems. So if you can book 50 to 100 treatments in a 2-week push, you can make $15,000 to $20,000 in a short window.
Yeah, and you're targeting very specific services, door to door, not general pest control.
Right. So maybe something like, "Hi, we're doing termite inspections in your neighborhood this week. Can we get you scheduled for tomorrow?" That's targeted and timely and way more effective than we do pest control.
Okay, so scenario 4 it would be like when you have a low digital marketing budget. If you can't afford $3,000 to $5,000 per month for digital marketing, but you can pay someone $20 per hour to knock on doors, door to door might be your best option.
Right. Your barrier to entry is going to be a lot lower. So you don't need a fancy website or a huge Google Ads budget. You just need someone who can talk to people and put a door hanger on.
Okay, so let's talk about the fifth scenario. This is where your market has a low digital competition. So wait, if there's low digital competition, shouldn't you do digital?
Eventually, yes. But if you're in a rural area like I am or a small town market where most of the competitors are going to be more old school and nobody's doing digital well, you can dominate with door to door while you're building digital in the background.
So you're meeting customers where they are, right? In small towns, word of mouth and personal connections still matter more than Google rankings.
Okay, so now let's flip it. When should you not do door to door?
Well, obviously, when the economics doesn't work, if your market doesn't respond, or when your time is better spent elsewhere.
Okay, so let's talk about some specific situations to avoid. One would be if you're in a high income area where people don't answer doors and your conversion rate is below 2%, then stop. You're burning money and annoying potential customers.
Right. So let's say you're 2 million plus annually. Your time is probably going to be better spent doing digital marketing and obviously your customer retention and managing and trying to get more commercial accounts like an apartment complex or a restaurant or something like that. Door to door doesn't really scale past that point.
If you're in an urban market with apartments and gated communities where you literally can't get to their door to knock on them, obviously door to door isn't going to work.
Right. So if you can convert one-time customers to reoccurring contracts, your door-to-door is just going to be a volume game within thin margins. So you've got to have a follow-up system to make it work, and that's when it really comes down to training your techs.
Mm. And if your service quality is inconsistent, door to door will backfire. You're putting your brand in people's hands face to face. If you do a bad job, that neighbor tells 20 other neighbors, right? This is the worst case scenario. You don't want to get your name out there as the people you don't want to call.
Absolutely. We've seen it happen before.
Yeah.
So, last thing before we wrap up, how do you integrate door to door with digital marketing?
Right. So your best strategies is not really not door-to-door or digital. It's door-to-door and digital.
Okay. So, kind of talking about a hybrid approach here, right? So, here would be the smart play: use door to door for immediate lead generation and cash flow, and then use digital for long term brand building and lower cost customer acquisition.
So, Chad, based on your experience, can you give us a tactical version of how to do this?
Yeah. So in month 1 through 3, I would focus heavy door to door to generate some immediate revenue, build up your customer base, simultaneously set up your Google business profile, launch your basic website, start with some review generation. Month 4 through 6, reduce your door to door intensity, maintain 2 to 3 days per week, kind of increase your digital spend as your organic traffic starts flowing. And then in month 7 through 12, your door to door becomes super targeted for campaigns in high value neighborhoods or for specific services. So digital becomes your primary lead source.
And here's the key: every door to door customer gets added to your email list and review generation system. You're not just getting a one time sale, you're building a database.
We see this all the time where smaller operators don't take advantage of all that data, but door to door can actually feed your digital ecosystem.
Right. So door to door gets your customer in the door or your foot in the door, so to speak. So email, reviews, digital marketing, keep them up and generate referrals. That's the winning combination.
All right, let's recap these 3 takeaways.
Number one, the real math is 35 doors per hour at 5% conversion, $12 per customer acquired on a $100 service, but only profitable if you convert to recurring contracts. Those are specific numbers, right? It'll vary. Number two, door to door works when you're new and need customers fast, expanding to new areas, doing seasonal pushes, have low digital budget, or are in low competition markets. And lastly, number three, the winning strategy is door to door and digital. Use door to door for immediate cash flow while building digital for long-term customer acquisition.
You know, we've created a door to door return on investment calculator. Plug in your conversion rate, labor costs, average ticket, just to see if door to door makes sense for you. You can download it free at marketingthatactuallyworks.ai.
And if you want help building the digital side while you're knocking doors, book a free strategy call.
Next Tuesday, content marketing that actually brings in customers. We're going to show you how to create a blog, produce content, and videos that generate leads, not just traffic.
Right. We'd love for you to subscribe and leave us a review, as well as let us know what you'd like to hear about. We want to hit those spots that you guys are wondering about.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing That Actually Works for Pest Control. We'll see you next Tuesday.